And welcome to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. Shaking hands, kissing babies. Beautiful. That's what politicians do, right?
Did the whole drum roll go off before we were on the air?
It might have.
I think
It might have. I tried to time it. It's difficult. It's not.
I understand. Yes. Politics. Yay.
Yeah. What is it? If you had to pick one word to describe yesterday for you, what would it be?
I can't do it in one word.
All I wanna do is feel awesome. All I wanna do is feel awesome. All I wanna do is feel awesome.
Mark, how are you feeling?
Go ahead.
Today?
I feel good.
Good.
I feel good.
Good.
This is the best way for me to describe it, and you'll be able to relate to this.
Okay.
Everyone will be able to relate to this.
Yep.
It's like when you have like a final exam and you've studied and studied and studied, or when you have a game, a playoff game or whatever, a bigger game than typical.
Yeah.
And you get to the point where it's like the middle of the afternoon, you're just like, I just want to play. I just want to take the test. Like I'm done studying. I've studied as much as I'm going to study, and I just want to take it and see. Now, the difference between an election, you don't get to play. You don't get to read the questions and think. You just sit there and wait for the results. So that, from that aspect, it's a little over. In the middle of the afternoon, I was just like, I want to see the numbers on a lot of races, not just the race that I was running for, just to kind of see, is that what I thought? Is that not what I thought? Who did better, who did worse, and all that stuff. So I know I was at polls. I was at a bunch of polling places yesterday. And yesterday afternoon at like 4:15, I got in the car and headed to the Montoursville baseball field because my son had a baseball game. And there were people there and they're like, shouldn't you be at the polls? And I was like, I remember after my brother retired from baseball, he had 270 wins. He just had a really good year and won 20 games. And he was like, no, I'm done. I'm 39. I'm going to be 40 in a couple months and I'm done. And they're like, what about the Hall of Fame? And he said, if I haven't done enough to make the Hall of Fame by now, then I'm not going to make it. And at about 4:30 yesterday, I was like, do I want to watch my son play a baseball game or do I want to go stand at a poll? And I kind of decided if I haven't done enough to win by now, then I guess I'm just not going to win. Yeah. So it's a weird day. And the other thing I told, I don't know if I told this to kids too, because there's a bunch of us last night over here at Boom City that we hung out. And I said one of the most oxymoronic things about it is you always tell yourself and you tell your kids to not judge your own self-worth by other people's opinions. Mm-hmm. But an election is purely other people. That's all it is. Right. So it is a weird thing.
And most of the time, the voting isn't even fact-based. I mean, it literally, when you use the word opinion, the majority of it is the opinion of what people think did happen, should happen, who they want, who they don't want. I don't think voters are as fact-based as we'd like to think that they are.
I would totally agree with that.
Yes.
If you're,
point, it is popularity. I mean, it is an opinion-based vote.
And if you're in a rivalry, the Montoursville Loyal Sox, Jersey Shore, Lock Haven and Muncie, Hughesville, I'm sure there are people that walk into the polls because next to your name it says where you're from. Sure. And especially if it's countywide, if it's a Loyal Sox school board, it doesn't say you're from Loyal Sox because that's kind of a given. But so I'm sure there are people that look at where so-and-so is from and they're like, oh, I'm not voting for them. I root against them every time they play. And you're like, really? Is that how we're making? But so it is. It's a weird day. I am, and it's just the way life is. Life is just so. Yesterday was the primary, obviously, and it was the last day of my son's regular season baseball. So this, like the whole last month, has been just this churn of everything, and then it all within like now they have playoffs start whenever Tuesday or whatever.
I have questions.
But anyway, it's just like now today, from this day where I've had 57 things to do in 24 hours. Today I actually go home after work and I have nothing. I have no obligations. I have to umpire a Little League game Friday night. That is my next obligation. And my life hasn't been like that for 3 months.
Someone who has gone through the experience now, because that was your first time really doing it.
That's my first one.
Okay. So here's my basic questions, like for the average citizen who wonders about this stuff but has never ran before. Okay. Here's my basic question. Having done this, do you think that it's a waste of time going to the polls on election day? Yes, sir. And don't give me some political, now that you have gone through the process, you are technically deemed a politician.
I'm deemed.
Don't give me some like political answer of like.
Honestly, and I think we've discussed this before. I think the local elections are more important for a normal schmuck like us than the national elections.
I agree.
Because your vote actually doesn't, I mean, they don't matter. But, you know, in the state of Pennsylvania, when you're voting on a senator, although we did see McCormick and Oz were within 1,000.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Incredibly rare, but yes. But in the local elections, it is important to get to the polls. I think.
I think when you go to the polls, it just feels redundant. I feel like you're not really going to change the mind of somebody who actually knows what they're going to do when they walk in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
you mean the people outside handing out the?
Yeah,
Oh,
honestly, listen, go vote. It's your right.
No. Oh, okay. I misunderstood the question then.
Yes. We're talking about from the politician perspective, because everyone, like, it is assumed that if you are a politician, you should be at the polls on election.
Correct.
And all I'm saying is I'm here to say I don't know if I agree with the assumption.
I'm
just curious as someone who's done it their perspective.
I think there were 2 people that I may have influenced.
Okay.
And I was at. No, I obviously didn't stand there for hours. You know, I'd go, I'd hang out, I'd talk to the people. I actually had some really fascinating conversations with the other people doing the same thing,
Sure.
whether it was the candidate themselves or the wife or the daughter or whoever. So I had some really good conversations, but I think there were 2 people that after they went in, because of course, in the primary, it has to be somebody at your party or it doesn't even matter.
Do you think it's 2 people? Do you think the number was so low because of my assumption that it doesn't really matter? Or do you think like you were naive? Do you think going now you could have, now that you've gone through it, do you think you could have changed more?
No, I think most of them get out of the car.
I think they're locked in.
They're just like the way more than 50% are like, nope, I don't need you. And now they have you because you can't accost people.
Yeah.
You're not like they have a clear path.
Good word, by the way.
Thank you. They have a clear path
Okay.
from the parking lot to the door.
Okay.
They have to kind of go out of their way to get your stuff. And we had one of the guys on our team who had said primary voters know who they're voting for before they get there. And I don't really disagree with that. But you feel like, now maybe in a real election it's different.
Sure.
Because the primary voters are the people who really want to get out. In a real election, I don't know. But yes, I think I may have swayed 2 people.
Okay. This is half serious, half I'm making fun of you.
Let me guess which half you're going to start with.
So when you go to this stuff, I would imagine you have to be briefer than you usually are.
This is just directed at me?
How do you do with short form speaking? Because you're not a short form speaker. So,
you mean for a person walking in?
Yeah, well, just a person walking in, like really, see, I think I would imagine that most of your engagements, whether you're at the poll or wherever you are trying to meet as many people as possible, there is a value to having like a short form ability. And you are you are a long form talker. You love analogies, you love diving into things. So I'm just curious, like, have you noticed yourself in the last 2 to 3 months? Like, have you picked up a soundbite? Like, have you noticed, like,
my elevator pitch?
Like,
I
have you
think
noticed that you speak shorter than what you did maybe 3 or 4 months ago?
You can, I think with the people who you can tell that you're afraid you're annoying anyway.
Okay. Is that ever your fear, though? Like, do you ever fear that when you go up to talk to a stranger?
Do I ever fear that I'm annoying them? No, I don't. When I go up to them, I don't fear it. But when we get into the conversation, sometimes I realize I'm doing it. Like, they don't really want to talk to me.
I think that you and I differ in that a little bit. I'm terrified of coming off as annoying, and I don't think it initially crosses your.
I'll give you an example. I was at one of the polls with two other guys who are outside, and this lady came out, and I said, and you just it was not a rush time. It was a little after lunch, so it was not a busy time at the poll. And she comes out, and I looked at her. I said, "Did you get all the questions right?" And she's like, "I think so." And I said, because did you vote yesterday?
Yeah.
And you fill out the circles with the pen, and it was like, it brings back that test anxiety from school, doesn't it? And she started laughing. So we get through, and she gets in the car and drives away, and the other two people look at me and goes, "Who was that?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know." And they said, "You don't know her?" I was like, "No, why? Who is she?" And they're like, "We don't know her either. That's why we're asking you." I was like, "Oh, I don't know." But so yeah, that stuff doesn't bother me. But you can tell very quickly at the polls. You're like, "Sir, do you need any information?" Nope. They put a hand up and they walk right in. So it is what it is.
Did you notice, like, as I think most people when they go, I'm baffled at what they think they're voting for versus what they actually are voting for. You've told me a couple of stories with this. It's amazing what people think a commissioner
Right.
or a
Right.
do. Having done this now for 2 or 3 months, do you think I'm closer to being right or closer to being wrong in the sense that, like, I think a lot of people go and they think they're going to vote on this issue, and in reality, they're not. It really isn't even close to going to be an issue that is affected by this.
Yes, I'm with you. I don't know if I told this story. I was at the we had a forum for the Democratic commissioners, and then they had a forum for the Republican commissioners, and the Republican one was in Montoursville, and even though I'm a Democrat, I went. I saw like the second half after a baseball game, and because I wanted to listen and learn, and this one guy comes up to me, and he starts talking to me about what are my stances and blah 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 on transgender bathrooms in schools. And we start talking, and I looked at him. I said, "Do you really think that's the biggest issue that we have facing our county right now is transgender bathrooms in schools?" And he's like, "Well, blah blah blah," and he started talking a little more. I said, "And you also realize the county commissioners have no say over what goes on in the school. That's why they have superintendents and school boards." And he looked at me and goes, "Oh, I wasn't sure about that. So I was like, "No, we can't tell a school what to do. They're school, we're just county commissioners." So yeah, I think a lot of people, and it goes all the way up to the president. They complain about Biden, they complain about Trump, they complain about Obama, they complain about Bush, in stuff that they have, that their hands are tied. And so yes, I think it happens that they'll complain about mayors. They're everywhere, and it's something that they have nothing to do with, or they tried to do it. Like when you talk to the commissioners now about like what's going on at the airport, and they'll give you the rundown of what we did and what we did, and they're like, was it American Airlines or US Air, or what, and all this stuff. And they're just like, "Oh, somebody dropped the ball," and they're like, "No, well, these are all the things we tried to do, but there's an airport authority that we don't have authority over, and there's all these aspects." So yes, I think you're absolutely right.
I've noticed that. Remember the last couple of years, like there was this huge thing about misinformation, and you and I talked about it on the show quite a bit, like people getting misinformation on Facebook or all these different places and not double checking sources and things like that. I have noticed recently, I think I've shifted. I don't know if it's so much like misinformation. I think people struggle to put the information they have into where it belongs, like where it files. So like you get to vote on all these different things at a local level, a state level, and a federal level. And it's amazing how many people have this information and then they blame it on something locally, but it has nothing to do with the local official. The state controls it, right?
Yes.
Like the public school system in Pennsylvania, or you blame it on the federal government, and then you realize like it's the locals government's authority to like decide where the money goes to and all that. So I don't know. I think obviously we talk about like teaching government in high school and all these different things, but there is a disconnect. More so, it's not misinformation; it's applying information where it doesn't necessarily belong, especially in politics. That's what I've noticed a lot in like the last few years.
Well, I think one of the things that is affecting society now is there's so much information. I remember like a buddy of mine, I'll give you a stupid example back. He just baseball nut. Like you're a basketball guy, he's a baseball guy. When he would tell me he would buy the USA Today in like January, and which was probably 50 cents back then, just so he could go to the back and look and see if there were any baseball transactions. You know, the one ads basically, you know, so and so, you know, they signed this guy to a minor league contract, just anything, because he was such a baseball junkie. He was looking for the information. Well, now, if you're a baseball junkie, you can go on and you can read baseball stories for all day long, all day, every day. And I think there's so much information for people to sift through. And what do we go to? There's important stuff we should learn, but there's more interesting stuff that we'd rather learn, like Mr. Clickbait here, who clicked on 19 songs that have been banned or something like that. And it was all these from Papa Don't Preach, from Madonna, to some of these oldie songs that you're like, they thought they were too suggestive in the 50s. And you're like, oh my gosh. So it's hard to corral all this information and know it, because I mean, it would be a lot of work to be well informed, even if the information was just presented to you. Now we have to sift through and find the good information. Plus, we have to have the self-restraint to turn away the stuff we really want to read about a circuit judge from Philadelphia and what's their background and who am I voting. So it's hard.
No, I agree.
And I think because there's too much information, that's why we're less informed.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot going on always. It's a constant circuit.
Yes.
I would like us to see, I would like to be able to, at some point, I don't know if you apply it in schools, I don't know if you would apply it to like online media somehow, but I would love for us to have a way where when there is news, when there is information given, I would love it if we could tag it to show which local or state or federal authority is affected or
had a say
in what this
yes
actually
whose court is this in.
Yes,
that's very good.
I agree with you. There's so much to read, right? And there's so much information floating around now compared to 10, 20 years ago that it just becomes really, really hard as a voter to understand what lane is this coming from, or what lane does this affect? Or if I don't like what's happening, what lane, when I actually go to vote, could I make change in to do that? Because I think things happen in both parties, and I think that most voters have no idea which election and which level should I actually vote to try to make a change in. They have no clue.
I'm with you.
People come to you talking about like high school bathrooms when you're running for county commission.
Right.
They don't understand the
No, that is a very astute point.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you make it better. I don't know. And it's just, there's so much, especially with TikTok and with short attention spans and with all these forms of social media. There's so much fun and, sexy topics. Like I talked about in the debate, I was like, the airport is a sexy topic here because we have this airport that they kept dumping money into. And I don't think locally we hardly dumped any. I think it was federal. And now there's no planes coming in and out of it. And it doesn't take a genius to say, oh, that's a waste of money. But there are lots of other, like they did a bridge bundling project, which really has a lot of effect on the infrastructure of our county, but it's not. Well, yeah, we gave a little bit of a tax so we could bundle money with a state grant so we could redo a bridge in Barbers or in Armstrong Township. And then there are people like, I don't even know where Armstrong Township is. And then you're like, oh, so that's just not the airport. And everybody has an opinion on the airport. So that makes it a fun water cooler topic. Yeah. Even in a world where we don't have water coolers anymore. Does that cliche work?
I think people know what it is, right?
I guess.
If you go to like a bigger office.
Yeah, they must. They must still have water coolers. They must. You just you don't have the paper Dixie cups alongside. Now you have your own.
Well, the difference now is you probably only make one trip to the water cooler. You probably have.
And you fill it up. If
you want the scuttlebutt, you got to time it out perfectly so that you're at the water cooler at the right.
I wonder how productive these work environments used to be that everyone was standing at the water cooler.
Have you ever seen any of the studies on that? there are studies that say in a 40-hour work week, they really think most people work less than 25%. Like actually worked. Like,
I read a study once that for people at work that were in it, if they got an email, on average, it took them something like 21 minutes to get back to whatever they were doing.
Oh, from the email.
From the email. Now, the email could have been their buddy saying, hey, we're going out to Wild Wings to watch the Lakers tonight. Or it could have been another work assignment that was like, hey, we need to do this right now. But and depending on what the job is, there's people that are doing stuff they have to work through their pile, and then there's other stuff that comes up immediately. But that was the on average, just an email. So now, and that was before the text world, I would bet. So now, how many people you just get a text from, some moron that you grew up with, and all of a sudden your whole train of thought is gone, and it's how long until you get back to what you were doing?
Well, have you ever been in a meeting where someone's? Well, yes, I've been in a meeting. Have you ever nothing's drives me more insane when you're in a meeting. See, this is what's funny. You're damned if you do it, you're damned if you don't. Because I've been in meetings where I'm watching somebody on their phone as we're brainstorming, trying to come up with a solution, all this stuff. And then vice versa. I've had people get mad because I haven't responded in 2 hours, and it's because we're trying to talk about something and we're in a meeting, all this stuff. So it's I despise the person, but that person has also
despises you
me because I'm not the one. So I don't know who's right and who's wrong. To me, I think I'm right, but then I watch other people get upset at me, and I'm maybe I'm wrong. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably just what people think is important etiquette. Can you wear a hat in a building? Can you not wear a hat in a building? It used to be you couldn't. Now
I never understood the hood in school, ever.
What?
I still to this day don't understand people losing their mind over having a hood up in school.
Why would you have a hood up in school?
Why would you? Why? What is so detrimental to having a hood up?
Oh, you mean a rule against it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't care if people have it up. I'm just wondering. I'm wondering why you would do it. Isn't your head warm enough anyway?
Out of all the rules enforced,
yeah, that seems.
Public high schools, I promise you, the number one rule enforced is no.
Well, I guess the only thing is because then if they have earbuds or headphones, you can't see it. But that's. I mean, I'm also at the point kind of where if I'm a teacher, especially in high school, if I'm a teacher and the kid doesn't want to listen, he wants to have his earbuds in, then he's not going to bother anyone. Because you've taught high. Well, what was the highest? You were middle school.
Well, so I did everything from 7th grade language arts all the way up to 12th grade honors. So I've done the whole scope. Okay,
well, the older you get, you have kids that kind of learn the system. They're going to do enough to get by. Mm-hmm. They don't want to cause it. They don't want to hassle you. They don't want you to hassle them. They're gonna. So yeah, I was kind of always of the I get that you don't want to be here, but the law requires you to be here. Mm-hmm. If you don't bother the people around you, we're not really going to bother you. I was never a teacher that I'm calling on the kid because I know he doesn't want to be called on. Yeah. You know that? I never did that. Yeah. So yeah, so a kid has his hood up. I didn't know. You're not allowed to walk down the hall with a hood up?
Every high school I've been a part of, it's the number one enforced thing. Do not have. It goes along with the hat. Don't wear a hat. Don't have your hood up. It's the number one enforced thing. And to this day, I don't understand. It's like the Grim Reaper walking down the hall. He represents evil. I've never gotten it. I never understood the hat thing. I still don't understand why a kid can't wear a hat anymore. I don't. Yeah, that's kind of an old. I would bet that that's being phased. You think so? I would hope so. Can Jimmy wear a hat to school? I don't know. I'll find out. Okay. I don't know. Yeah. And maybe that makes me a bad parent because I don't know if my kid can wear a hat to school. But we couldn't. We clearly couldn't. Before we jump off, is there anything else you wanted to talk about? No. I don't know if I mentioned this. If I didn't, one of the fascinating things in life, this is really why I want to talk about it, because one of the things we do here, if you're new to the soon-to-be Emmy-nominated Midday Show, we like to talk about regular topics or common topics and look at it from a different angle. One of the things when you do something like this, and I know
I'm sure you've done this with coaching when you guys like won your state championship game and stuff like that. One of the most memorable parts of it is getting texts either before or after from people that you know that you never thought you would get a text from about this. And it is always fascinating to me in life, the support you get from people that are not necessarily in your inner circle, not in your out, like these periphery people. I got a text from a person this morning who I used to work with, who I 2 years haven't heard from this person, and now lives out of state, and just sent me a message, said, hey, I saw how you did. I was trying to vote for you from out of state, but they wouldn't let me for some reason. And like of my top 10 things of the election and the running and the learning and the meetings and all this stuff and the primary, this will be one of the, if you ask me in August, name me 10 things you remember, I will remember that text. Just because it was so touching is I guess the corny word.
Sure.
But just people that sent you messages that you would never think of, former clients, people you knew that you're either Facebook friends with or you had their phone number in your phone for some reason. And you get a message and you're like, they said, hey, you can put a sign in my yard. And some of them, I was like, I didn't know you're a Democrat. And they're like, I'm not, but you can still put it. I can't vote for you, but I'd like to help you. Yeah. And I was like, well, if you really want to help me, you would switch parties. But, so that it is always, we get stuck up. We get stuck in this world of like, there's so many idiots and there's so many terrible, because they make the headlines and they make the news and all that stuff. But when you peel it away, there are so many really, really nice, like just good-hearted, genuine people that get overshadowed by the fewer. And it is. I mean, I can only imagine when you won a state title. Like, I'm sure you heard from coaches. I'm sure you heard from former players. But I'm sure you heard from people throughout that you're like, I didn't even know you knew the rules of basketball. And you're reaching out to me just because it was a personal level. And that's so kind of whenever you're out there in the public eye, it is always. I remember this too when Mike made the Hall of Fame. I got a Facebook message from a buddy of mine, a college buddy's sister, who I haven't seen since college. She's like, I don't know if you remember, maybe you met me twice, and they're from the coal region, and she lives up in New England somewhere now and has for 30 years with her husband. She's like, I just want you to know, I always followed your brother's career, and I'm really happy for your family. And my brother always spoke really highly of you, and I'm just really happy for you. Yeah. And I'm like, I haven't seen this person in 30 years, and just to go out of their way to send a message. So it's that part has been really, really neat for me. Yeah. And I'll just end it there.
No, it's good. Rewarding.
It is. And it reminds you of a lot of the goodness of society, because we hear so much of the badness of society because people read about it.
I remember listening once when they talked about like when you have a car and 3 of your tires are working and the 4th one isn't, you never hear from or talk about the other 3 tires and how great those tires are. You only ever hear about the
That's true.
tire. And so when occasions like that happen, right? Like you win something, Hall of Fame, you run for an election, whatever, you kind of remember that the other 3 tires are still really, really good. Like
yes.
The other 3 tires still did their job and still got you where you were going and are still working. It sounds like a broken record, but we are at a place in society where like it's just that little faction has decided that now their voice is going to be louder than ever. And there's a lot of factors into why that is, media being one of them.
Right.
It's clicks, it's views, it's everything else. But it's always neat when you get a small taste and you get to remember that like most of society is genuinely good.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So, thank you guys.
There it is.
Anything else?
Yes, I do want to. I think we should mention Doc Rivers, and you feel like you owe him an apology because you set him up for failure.
I did not set. He had a 3-1 lead. I would argue he was set up for success very, very well.
Which 3-1 lead are you talking about? The most recent one?
I will say this again. I still think Doc Rivers is one of the best 300 coaches in the world. Like, I think he's probably one of the best 500 coaches ever. Just when you narrow it down to that pool, I don't think he's near the top of that pool. I think I wouldn't put him near the top of the pool that he is falling into.
In 10 seconds,
Yeah.
who's getting out of the East? Celtics or Heat?
I think it's Celtics. I think the Heat thing is luck is not the right word, but a lot has gone the Heat's way. The Celtics will be the first team they play that everyone's healthy, everything's the way it's supposed to be.
Is Jimmy Butler the most underrated player in NBA history?
Not history, but he is the most underrated player we have today. Like, in today's NBA, he's unbelievably underrated.
Is it because his name's just so boring?
No,
He's just Jimmy Butler.
No, I think it's because he's kind of bounced around, and I think also too, like, he is a big gamer. Like, he's like a pitcher who always has like a normal season, then you get to postseason and the guy's throwing missiles, and that's Jimmy Butler goes all season long. He averages 18 points, and then all of a sudden you get to the playoffs and you can't stop him, and that's why.
Well, there have been multiple teams so far that couldn't stop him.
Yeah, no, he's very, very special.
All right, that's all I got.
All right.
Oh, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
You look older.
Do I look older?
You look older than the last time we were on because you are.
Is it the beard? No,
It's,
it might be.
well, happy birthday. Happy belated to you. I mean, some people say it was your birthday. I say it was election day. You know, you call whatever you want. I'm not trying to make it all about me, but I know yesterday was I didn't know until we got here yesterday. And then and I was running around like a crazy person. And they're like, "Did you know today was Jeff's birthday?" I was like, "Today?"
Yeah.
So.
And I don't say too much about it. Like, we have a big party. We have our murder mystery party. It's early in May, and it's always near my birthday. And like the weeks leading up to the party, I'm always reminding my girlfriend, like, this is not my birthday party. Like, we're not talking about my birthday. We're not getting a cake. We are having a party for everybody, and we're having friends. And so I very much I don't know. You
realize the year she decides that the murder mystery party will be your birthday party, no matter how emphatically you tell her it's not going to be, it will be anyway.
Well, yeah, I won't have a choice.
Because once she's like, this is what we're doing, you can tell her not all you want.
I know because of obviously the way the calendar works, and it's always shifting. One of these years, the weekend in May is going to fall on the 6th. The 16th is going to be a Saturday, and it's going to be the best weekend for us to do it. So I've already wrapped my head around the idea that there will be one that falls on my day, and I'm probably not going to be able to talk her out of the idea that it's not.
The Preakness is this Saturday, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think the Preakness, 3rd Saturday in May.
I've fallen out of horse racing. Do you know anybody who's still really into it?
No, there are only 3 days a year that anyone cares about horse racing, and they don't even care about it.
You know why?
Because the internet.
Because the internet and gambling, it's shifted. If you ask people now, there are people every week they're putting their bets in, doing stuff.
I have a buddy who's like that, and he told me, and COVID did a lot for it too. He said now they call it the handle at the horse track. He's like, the handles now are bigger than ever because you can bet from your phone, you can bet from your laptop, you can bet from wherever. You don't have to go to the track anymore. So he's the youngest old crony I know, and he'll go to the track spend 5 hours, watch the races. But
we did it a lot during COVID because
there's nothing else to do.
There's nothing else to do, but the horse tracks and stuff in different states
we're still running. Yeah.
So that was a thing that I did with some in-laws and stuff like that. We would put it up on the projector, and we would sit there and we'd bet on the horses.
If you have ever been to the Preakness, what a mess. I don't know. They tried to clean it up for a while. I'd have to see how it was. It used to be literally 100,000 drunk people on the infield.
Oh, sure.
And you could keep it's the end of the school year. Mm-hmm. It was basically people just brought whatever they want and left it. Mm-hmm. So you would have from fraternity houses because people are going to be there all day. Because you had to get there. It was like the beach on steroids. You had to get there and stake out your spot. And then, so people are showing up at 8 o'clock in the morning.
But how did people afford, how did college kids afford this?
Afford
Isn't it
what?
expensive to go to the
Oh no,
Preakness?
to get on the infield it was like $20.
That's it.
Oh, up in the bleach, up in the grandstand, it was more.
Do you
But
think it's still only? Do you think it's
it can't be
relatively-
much. I mean, all they have is grass and porta pots. Like and concessions. There is not a whole lot.
Huh. I did
So-
not realize it was that cheap.
So they would literally, there'd be these guys that they'd carry in couches, and it was it was a ratty couch. It was a D- to begin with.
Sure.
By the end of the day, it's an F-, and then they would just leave it. And it was an experience. I am glad I went. I'm glad I saw it. But what I would go for a little while and watch the melee, and then I would go home when I lived in Baltimore and watch the race on TV because from the infield you can't see the race. You see the horse. You can see like a quarter of. Oh, here they come, and then they go. And then you can't see anymore, and then you're just looking at the board to see which one won. And yeah. Anyway, Preakness. You should go. I recommend it. Highly recommend. I do want to go. The Kentucky Derby's on my bucket list. I really, because I think that's a little more provincial and like, and maybe that infield's a mess too. But it just seems like, how should I say, cleaner? I don't know. I don't know what to say. But yes, Preakness Saturday. I don't think so. Do we have anything important to say?
No, I was just happy to get back on.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
On your first
Thank you.
victory, and good luck moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Thanks for watching Midday Show. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news.
See ya.